we are live. Welcome, everyone, to today's episode of Explaining Hemp. My name is Sarah Williams, and I am the CEO and founder of Hemp for Healthcare in Alaska. And today we are discussing hemp as building materials. I am so excited for this topic. This is I'm always excited, right? I'm always excited about all things hemp. But this one has a special place in my heart because of the hemp houses for the homeless. So I want to thank you to my guests today. We're joined today very briefly with DJ Danny Rand, Greg Wilson with HempWood, and Matt Marino with Homeland Hempcrete Company. So I'm super excited. Thank you guys for joining me today. Let me get right into my script here. I am so excited. Now, the people that I have here on the broadcast today are like innovative world changers. Okay, these are people that pick up the cross every day, as I like to call them in my world, planetary superheroes. Okay, these are people that say, I know hemp can change the world, and I'm going to do something about it, and I'm going to step out in faith and do something about that. So I'm super, super excited. I thank you guys for coming. So today, briefly, we're going to have Danny talk about this upcoming online hemp extravaganza. I don't know, we're going to talk about that. So it's going to be super fun. But before we get started, and with every episode of Explaining Hemp, we need to pray this thing in. So please bow your heads with me and let's go ahead and do that. Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day. I thank you, Lord God, that you brought this group of men and me together, Lord. I thank you for every person that comes to this broadcast, whether it be live or whether they see it in the future, Lord. And I pray that you anoint our lips, that you give us the right things to say, that you help us to explain hemp in a way that truly revolutionizes how people use hemp in the construction world, whether it be as a replacement for wood or a replacement for an insulator or concrete or whatever, Lord God. You know the way. You made this plant. And so we ask that you give us the right words today and you help us to move in power and to present your creation in such a powerful way. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. All right, so let's get started. So I want to thank this month's broadcast sponsor of Shemp Yarn Company. Please check out shemp.yarn.com. And our Wi-Fi sponsor this month, a new sponsorship, is Kirk Fawcett and Western Ag Works. So check out westernagworks.com for your equipment needs when it comes to growing and processing hemp. So thank you guys so much for your support. So I'd like to introduce you to Danny Rand, who is part of the team heading up the online hemp extravaganza coming up on February 27th through March 1st. So this is such an exciting event and really totally brand new. It's a digital online expo. And so I wanted to ask Danny to come on and share with you a little bit about what it's like and what's you can expect and if there's any room for vendors or what's up. So tell me, Danny, your turn.
Hey, Sarah, thanks so much for having me on the show. I appreciate being here. This online hemp extravaganza that we have going on is pretty much a culmination of a whole bunch of needs to find solutions in the hemp world due to COVID restrictions. I mean, the 2020 pandemic hit everybody. There was a lot of individuals that lost flour, that lost, just overall organization with things. And when it comes to the actual conventions and events and things like that were supposed to be planned for 2020, a lot of people missed out on that and they were really hurting by it. And so my team and myself already handled, and the Omnibudsman Enterprises team, we teamed up with Deggy World to be able to actually get this virtual in-world experience. So we've actually leased this whole world, and there's about 15 different venues inside the world. We've got all sorts of the Omnibudsman seminar series with all sorts of different guest speakers and seminars going on, such as the Hemp for Healthcare seminar going on February 27th. And then outside of the auditorium, we've also got two different music stages that are out in the regular general public world that's going on for all 3 days. And then for VIP passes, it's only $7. That gets you inside of the Oregon Fresh Lounge, where we've got all sorts of special guest interviews with people like Tommy Chong, Pop Brothers at Law, people like that. When it comes to the actual vendors out there and the significance with this, we have our COA mixer. It's the buyer and sellers mixer. So you can actually sign up, get yourself a booth. Sign-ups or registration ends on the 15th, but you can actually come into this world, have your own flower inside the world, like through your camera and whatnot inside your booth. People can buy from you as well. You have to have your COAs to make sure it's above board, but we're not taking any proceeds from it. It's 100%. Once you've gotten your booth taken care of, you keep 100% of your sales. It's a great way to be able to network and mingle without having to worry about social distancing.
I love that. I love that. We really are living. I mean, I hate social distancing and I hate COVID and I curse the work of the devil in that whole situation. But you've got to adapt and overcome. This is the way the world is fearfully living. So in order to still do business, it seems like this digital thing is the way. I'm really excited because it's kind of like a virtual, like a video game, right? Like you create an avatar, you walk in, you can kind of go to these different places. And you really know, like you shared with me, that it's a person on the other end. It's not like a robot. It's not, just a bunch of false artificial intelligence. It's literally somebody on the other end that you're seeking to present your business to or present your information to or whatnot. So that's very exciting. Thank you, Danny. Awesome. How do we contact you if we want to, be a vendor, or what do we do?
So everybody can just head on over to alreadyhandled.com. You can see it right behind me, alreadyhandled.com. There's a tab that says Online Hemp Extravaganza. All the information is there. We've got some awesome videos that show you exactly what the world's going to be like, as well as promotion of the entire whole extravaganza that's going on. But alreadyhandled.com is the best way to get to us. You can also email me directly at djdannyran@alreadyhandled.com.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Danny. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys stay smiling. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks. All right. So perfect. So now we're moving on to hemp news. So hemp news, as with every episode, we take a moment to talk about what are some of the new and exciting things going on in the hemp world. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here real quick and get things going. We're having challenges, unfortunately, with Greg's camera. We all wanted to see his beautiful face, but that's okay. We can hear his beautiful voice, and that's what matters. So let's go in here to this controversial topic. Hold on. Let's close out Hemp Industry Daily. Can you all see my screen? Yeah, there we go. Perfect. So here is something that I think is extremely controversial. You all know I'm a believer in Jesus. You all know I'm a believer in God, right? We're going to talk about hemp plant breeders ramping up on utility patents to protect novel varieties. Should you even be able to patent a nature-driven idea? Is that something that you should do or be able to do that? Or I guess maybe if you take all these genetics and you put them together and then they create something new, but then in the next season, they could completely morph and be something else because it's not in your control. Nothing about nature is in your control. You can try to control everything about that aspect, but in the end, the plant's not yours. It's God's. So I don't know. I have a special idea about that. USDA creating hemp germplasm collection. Somebody tell me, what is germplasm? Do y'all know? Can somebody coin in on this one? Like germplasm? I do not know. I haven't read into that. This is good. 3M eyes hemp for adhesives, packaging replacements, and even growing new organs. Would you have, like, you know what? I would have like a hemp kidney. I mean, I need a kidney. Like, one of my kidneys doesn't work as well as it should. So why not? Like, let's grow a hemp kidney. I don't know. Matt, would you have a new organ that's made out of hemp? Would you do that?
I mean, I would consider it if I need one, for sure.
Right? Like, maybe, and so 3M is such a big company, though. This is one of the major fears of a lot of farmers and those in the hemp industry, is that these big companies are going to come in and just try to take over because they have the money to do that. And so we really have to remember to care about the little guy and not forget them, in the process of all of it. Awesome. Anything else in here? Time to invest in cannabis in Mexico is now. Let's just say that the time to invest in cannabis all across the world is now, for sure. Okay, so that's some of the hemp news. There's another article that I wanted to share regarding hemp today, and we'll talk about that when it's Greg's turn, because something new and exciting that I shared yesterday is hemp wood caskets. Why cut down a tree to bury your body in? But it's just gonna rot anyway. So now we have hemp wood caskets. I'm so excited about that, Greg. We'll talk about that in a bit. Okay, so let's get right into hemp as building materials and why hemp. So usually I start out with 3 facts about why the current systems are creating pollution in the world, and why, why we need to change them and why hemp is better. So let's go into here three things here. Okay. I got this little thing here that I've got written. So this topic is a special place in my heart because it's the foundation of the hemp houses for the homeless. Some of you know that once upon a time I struggled with homelessness, chronic mental and physical illness, and a bunch of darkness that Jesus set me free from. As I began to walk my path with the Lord, he downloaded this hemp for healthcare concept, and then later we added the hemp houses for the homeless and the industrial hemp prison program. Through my journey, I came to know these 2 gentlemen, Greg and Matt, who are today's planetary superheroes on the scene in this sector of the American hemp division. So you got to walk with me in this new idea. America has a hemp division. It's a hemp fuel division, hemp building materials division, hemp food division. It's a hemp division, and it's so big. The potential for it is massive, but only if we create that. So let's discuss why the current building materials industry is a problem for our people and our planet. There's 3 facts about the industry and how they impact the environment, and of course could be influencing climate change. So number 1, in total, building a home today will consume 44 mature trees that take approximately 20 years to grow for every 2,600 square feet. Hardwood floors, cabinets, siding, roofing, paneling, etc. could more than double the number of trees needed to complete the home. Okay. All right. Number 2, concrete, steel, and aluminum production represent more than 21% of all carbon emissions globally. And a significant portion of those materials, of course, are used in the construction industry. And the last bit is the construction sector is among the leading industries when it comes to energy consumption, release of CO2, and is responsible for great amounts of waste and pollution. So now, why is hemp a better choice for our people? Let me introduce you to, again, Matt Marino and Greg Wilson. I call them, as I said, the planetary superheroes on the scene, because every single day they pick up their cross and they make the choice to fight for hemp. We know hemp is going to save our planet. We know it. Down deep in our soul, like we know that we need to breathe, we know that hemp is going to save our planet. But it's not easy right now, fighting against a system that has been built in darkness, that has been built in putting profits over people, that has been built in putting profits over planet. And so now we need these superheroes, which are real life people that fight every day for hemp as a future building material commodity. So grateful for them. So welcome, gentlemen. So Matt, let's start with you. Can you start by telling me about yourself, your journey? How did Homeland Hempcrete start, and why hemp?
Yeah, for sure. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Good deal. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me today, Sarah. Yeah, so just a little bit about me. So myself, my wife, and my 2 young kids, we live in North Dakota right now. And it's where we've been for a while, and my wife and I grew up here. It's always an interesting climate. We were just talking about that before the show started. I woke up this morning, it was -20 without wind chill. So it's an interesting climate to put hempcrete to the test for sure. And so that's kind of one of the aspects I try to focus on is kind of finding solutions that work for my region, because North Dakota is not alone with those extreme temperatures, and Sarah knows that all too well, I'm sure. But so we live in North Dakota now, and this is where we kind of set up shop for the company that I run now, Homeland Hempcrete. We've been doing that for a couple of years. How we got to that point, or how we got to this point, I should say. So we we lived in Colorado a few years ago, 2016, around that time frame is kind of when we first got introduced to the hemp plant in general. Is just there's a lot of buzz going around, and I hadn't really heard much about it, but it was kind of lined up perfectly with my wife and I were kind of going through kind of a transformation in our personal lives of just healthier living and not quite minimalistic yet, but just consuming less, realizing that there's more that we could be doing instead of just chasing the what was presented as the American dream of consuming lots of goods and things like that and conveniences. So we started to go down this transformation a little bit, and this coincided with when I started to learn more about hemp. And so we just started to we saw the potential in the hemp plant in general, and so we just started to incorporate it into our daily lives. As far as I was doing a lot of physical activity, those kinds of things at the time, hiking, those things. So we were using CBD, using that, trying to minimize using over-the-counter medicines, those kinds of things. And then my wife's been cooking with it for a long time now, and so working it into our daily lives was our goal. And around the same time, and we're still doing this today, is I've always been really into building and just working with my hands. And so we've had a handful of rental properties, fixer-uppers, and that's kind of our strategy. Every time we move, we buy a fixer-upper, I fix it up, and then move on to the next one. And so like the house I'm in right now, we're almost done with this one. We'll probably stay here for a bit. But so I'm always working on projects, and I'm always working with these traditional building materials. And as we're going through this health transformation, I realized that there's a lot of negative health implications that come with most of these materials. And not just when you're installing them, but after they've been installed, there's a lot of harmful chemicals that are still being off-gassing for months and years after install. So this is kind of concerning to me. And after learning more about hemp, I came across Hempcrete, and that's kind of when I just went down the rabbit hole where I was like, this aligns so well with what I'm already interested in and what I'm passionate about. And like Sarah said, there's so many, literally hemp, there's so many uses that you could align it with any of your current interests and find something that hemp can do to improve on that idea. And so for me, it was an easy transition because it was Hempcrete for building, and it's something that I'm already interested in, and it was a well-established idea already. But so that's kind of where it got started, and been going ever since, kind of down that path. And so right now we're in North Dakota, and really my main focus is doing a lot of testing and research and trying to make the material as accessible as possible to people in a variety of ways. So that's as far as the knowledge. First off, people don't know that this is an available option for building. And so getting that knowledge out there is a big piece of it. Getting people the materials they need to do that, and then consulting on how it's different and how to use that material is really our focus right now. So we do consulting as well as building and material supplies as well. And so it kind of is just part of a bigger focus of, it doesn't just have to be Hempcrete necessarily. That's my focal point. But our broader perspective is kind of consuming less, using the right materials sometimes, or most of the time quality is the main thing we should be considering, not just cost. And that's kind of where we've kind of deviated in recent decades with traditionally built homes, is kind of moving for that fast and convenient and cheap alternative compared to the high quality materials that are actually simpler in my mind, and are much better quality for overall living. So that's where we're at right now.
Awesome. And I think you're right. When I say these words of like profits over planet, is that we go, well, cost is what drives everything. Well, if we could stop being a little greedy for a moment and start thinking outside of that and thinking more long term and thinking about the overall effect of how our actions are impacting not just ourselves but the planet and everyone around us, and we can have a little bit more awareness that maybe costs shouldn't drive that decision anymore, that we should invest a little bit more in ourselves and in our future. So I want to give a shout out to Matt. Matt's been a longtime supporter of hempforhealthcare.com. He has offered a great sample do-it-yourself kit. So if you want to support Matt, go to hempforhealthcare.com, purchase the sample do-it-yourself kit of Hempcrete, get your hands on it, work with it, get that idea. We're also looking at putting together some sample kits for larger distributions so we can start raising money for hemp houses for the homeless. And so it's just a great way to really get an idea of how easy it is to build with hemp. It's hemp hurd, lime, and water. Praise God. There you go. So it's pretty awesome. So thank you, Matt, for that. All right, moving on to you, Greg. Greg, your products is so exciting to me because we don't have to cut down trees anymore. Like, we don't have to do this. And I know you'll get into this about structural building and things, but just the fact of what hemp wood can do for reducing and if someday hopefully completely ending deforestation as a need, it just blows my mind. So tell me about HempWood. Tell me about your journey. Tell me.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from Maryland. I worked in building materials and building for a long time. So I studied civil engineering. My family are all builders. I started actually building factories. Instead of building, our family typically does retirement homes, single family homes, some custom build stuff like that. I started doing some of that, studied civil engineering, and ended up working at a vinyl siding plant, helping set up one of the new wings, and then in wood flooring. So in about 2003, 2004, I moved to China, and we came up with something called strand woven bamboo. So me and a bunch of different people started setting up the facilities there. I typically write the patents on it, the standard operating procedures, and then spec out the building, utilities, equipment, things like that need to go in, and kind of grow from there. As the market grows, then the supply grows as well. So when the Chinese government deemed those patents to be a monopoly for the bamboo industry, then my boss of the company I was working for said we had to find a new raw material to put in the process. And so I started working in a nanotech lab with a couple different universities, and we got into strand woven eucalyptus, which is a fast-growing eucalyptus species in the south of China. But we set that one up, and it didn't have kind of the ring, or it didn't have its own name in the wood flooring industry. So bamboo had its own name, so it earned its own place on the shelf as an eco-friendly alternative to hardwoods. And then when we did eucalyptus, I saw that with that company, no one asks for a eucalyptus floor. They ask for a wood floor. So when hemp became legal, I had a couple of different customers that we had for the bamboo and the eucalyptus. And I have a recycled woods plant in Tasmania. And then I helped set 2 of them up in Poland and 1 in the Ukraine. So this is my 57th one of these processing facilities I've worked on since 2003. That's all I've done.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. That's a ton of work. Thank you.
Yeah. Very often I sleep, if you see right up there, the pull down steps. I've got an air mattress up there, and I hit that about 60 or 80 nights a year. Yeah, it was the same way before with the bamboo and everything too. But there's always a positive side to what I'm working on, because you can go and make money working for somebody else and chasing a dollar in the city, or you can go and do what you want to do. And so because I like the environment, I'm a bow hunter. I love just being out in the woods, hiking and camping, and being able to hang my climbing tree stand on an oak tree. So there needs to be some oak trees left. When hemp came around, people started asking me if the technology would work for it, because I used to have a sample in the lab for probably 8 years, and I called it weed wood. I didn't know the difference between hemp and marijuana, and I just said the manufacturing algorithm is so versatile, we can turn weed into wood. And then when the Farm Bill passed in 2014, people started coming back saying, hey, what was that sample that you had sitting on your desk years ago. And none of these companies, because they were really large and were publicly traded, or their banking or financial, or whether it was their legal elements, wouldn't allow them to get into it. I went and figured out kind of how to do it, how to put it into the process. I actually wrote a couple of patents you can see right here. So we're in the office, so you can see right there.
Oh, yeah, bring it. Woohoo!
So that's HempWood getting made right there in the huge press.
Whoa! That's awesome.
Here's patent number 1.
Hey, and I want to point out that is a HempWood frame right there. Check that out.
Oh, yeah. Patent number 2. We've got actually all these different things. Display cases that we make. There's HempWood bowls in there, bottle stoppers, duck calls, elk calls, pens. You can see all that different stuff. Yeah. There's panels in here for some sort of, I don't know why they're in the office, but they were here this morning.
Sorry.
There's trademarks. There's a couple of different trademarks we got there. We got our intellectual property all over the world, actually. So I worked on that while the government was working on making hemp legal. I was trying to figure out how to do it and how to create a business out of it.
Yeah.
So here we are. I sold my house. Times got tough. I sold my boat. I sold my rental home. Just all in. We have anywhere between 18 and 22 employees, depending on the summer's usually a little bit more than the winter. We ship anywhere between $40,000 and $80,000 a month worth of hempwood. It goes to, we haven't sold it to every single state, but the West Coast is about 40% of our market, California, Oregon, Washington. We sell a decent amount to Texas and Colorado, Montana, and the Dakotas seem to be picking up this year. A lot of hemp shops are actually building out their storefronts with it. So the strangest thing is the market in 2020 and now 2021, because every single month, our new biggest customer segment is something different. And it just seems like it was pre-COVID, our biggest customer segment was for ecotourism, hotels, restaurants, coffee shops. Then that went away. And all of a sudden in the spring last year, these, what we call your garage carpenters. So people who are stuck in with COVID and want to do some sort of home improvement or build their own desk or build their own cabinetry, whatever that is, they have some tools and they've got some time now. And because all the retail locations shut down, we started selling a whole lot direct online. It went actually from about 40% direct online now to about 80%. And then the West Coast. Oh, continue.
Real quick, do you guys ship to Canada? Because I had someone message me yesterday and ship to Canada.
So we do ship to Canada, but we don't have a direct shipping on the website to Canada because customs picks it up and will stop it. So if we just send it out with our standard shipping method by putting it through the post office, then it gets stopped at the border. So we can ship it there, but you have to talk to us and there's extra paperwork that goes with it.
Okay. Sounds good. Awesome.
Yep. So
awesome. Sorry.
That's what we do. We do hempwood. Hempwood lumber is our main product. Flooring is the second bestseller we have right now. Then we have furniture, which is tables and cabinetry, countertops, accent walls, things like that. They do fairly well. And then we have a lot of our different, what we call home goods and hobby woods. And this is for people who do wood turning, making pens and game calls and bowls and things like that. There's also a lot of people that are interested in picture frames or serving trays or charcuterie boards. So those fall into that home goods and hobby woods category as well.
I just love that, I got some wood right back here that could be made, out of everything that we can envision that's currently made out of a tree can be made out of hemp. It's so amazing. so beautiful. And what's so good is it's just beautiful. Like you look at those picture frames and they're just so different, you know, and I love it. I love it. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So let's move on to talk about what are some of the ways that you can like practically use hemp in the building world. Greg, you shared a little bit about that in the flooring and stuff. And I just was going to move to Matt, but Matt left us. So he'll be back, hopefully. I don't know what just happened, but he'll be back. So I guess we can talk a little bit more with you, Greg, about, oh, wait, there's Matt. He's back. Something happened. Okay, he's back. Let's get him in the stream. Hi, Matt. Welcome back.
Hey, guys.
We're about to run to you about Hempcrete as a practical building material. Where do we use it? In what part of the building process? And is it a viable replacement for concrete?
All right. Yeah, sorry, that was terrible timing there, but I'm back on. All right. So for Hempcrete, yeah. So there's a couple of different application methods at this point, and every one of them has their pros and cons. So I would say the most common and what I use primarily is the cast in place or cast on site, which is basically where you're going to have a wood frame. You're going to frame out your structure, and then you're going to essentially how you would pour concrete, where you would use forms on either side. You would do similar setup for Hempcrete, and then you'd fill that void with your Hempcrete, and so you can have it right directly against your frame, so the edges of your frame are exposed when you remove that form, or you can put that frame right in the middle of your wall. So for instance, in North Dakota, it's super cold here. So my next build is a tiny house, and we're going to do 12-inch walls. And so we'll have a 2x6 frame, but then we'll have spacing on both sides. So that frame is going to be completely submerged inside the wall or embedded in the wall. And so we'll just build the forms out that far and then fill it in, move our forms up till we get to the top, and then remove those. So the Hempcrete becomes your exterior wall, your interior infill insulation, and your interior wall surface. And then from there, we'll just coat it with a lime plaster to protect it, and it's good to go. So that's really one of the benefits of it, is that it's pretty simple makeup of your walls there. It eliminates a lot of products. But in regards to how to install it, that was cast in place. There's also companies working on blocks. One thing that I'm starting to work on is kind of a module approach, where I would be casting it into preset frames, and then those frames can cure, and then those frames would go out to the build site for easy install then, to eliminate some of the on-site labor and having to control the climate and those kinds of things. So there's also spray technology, which a handful of companies are working on as well. So there's definitely pros and cons, and we can get into that if anyone has questions on that. But right now, I'm a fan of the cast in place. Gives you the most kind of thermal envelope with minimal thermal bridging. So some of the reasons why you would want to choose Hempcrete, or why it just makes sense for building material, is that, like I said, it's just simpler. You're taking like a traditional home, you probably have at least 7 to 10 materials that are going into an exterior wall to make that up and be code compliant, as opposed to with Hempcrete, you really just have your wood frame, and then you have your hemp that becomes a majority of your wall, and then you put a plaster or some kind of cladding on both sides to protect it, if you want to. And so it really simplifies things. There's really not much variability in that makeup there, as opposed to a traditional built home. For every one of those layers, you can pick from hundreds of suppliers and various qualities. And that's kind of where things have gotten out of control, I think, with traditionally built homes, is that builders building a new home is more in the favor of the builder than it is the occupants, where they are able to take a cookie cutter design and mass produce it, use the same materials, use cheap materials, and have the most margins. And so we see a lot of failures and a lot of rework that has to be done in the future, as opposed to with Hempcrete, especially right now with this early adoption phase. all of the occupants that would be in there are heavily involved in the design and usually the implementation of the materials, so they can help define the level of quality that's going into the build. And you're using a material that is, in my mind, superior to traditionally built wool. And some of those benefits are like in the cold climates here, you have your high insulation value, but you also have ability to control moisture. So the Hempcrete itself can manage moisture content to a degree. So if there's a lot of moisture on one side of the wall, it can shed, or it can absorb and shed that moisture over time, as opposed to retaining that moisture and eventually turning into mold. So those kinds of problems are greatly reduced and sometimes eliminated. And so one of the other pieces, my son has pretty severe asthma, and we've noticed that when he's in locations, like if there's Hempcrete present, like one of the workshops I had that I built, one of my first structures I built in North Dakota, it's just a cleaner environment to be in. There's not dusts and VOCs, those kinds of things to agitate him. It's just a very clean and natural feeling structure. So that's huge for us. And I would say finally, and probably most important for, with your message there with saving the world, the biggest thing we can do really, I think, is just want and consume less. And one of the Hempcrete just serves that purpose so well, because you're essentially using, especially up until now and even still now, the part of the plant that you're using for Hempcrete is the hemp hurd, which is part of the stalk. Farmers in my area still don't have a use for that, so they're growing for the grain of the hemp plant, and then the hemp stalks are going to waste. So you're taking a byproduct of a material that's already it's just a plant that's already sequestered carbon, and then you're taking that byproduct and turning it into a renewed product that can be used for building homes. So instead of producing new materials, you're using the leftovers from another process to build that house. So overall, there's just there's a lot of things to be excited about. And
I love that. I love that with the hemp
switch.
plant, you can use the roots to the flower, the roots to the seed. Like every single part of that plant has a value to be used in some way. And it's just amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So good. Anything else you wanted to add?
Nope, I think that's it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I find that, you have that potential with Hempcrete, and then we have hemp insulation, and we have hemp paint, and we have HempWood, and I have a hemp carpet supplier. I mean, I am ready to build my houses. Like, come on, let's do this. I just need the money and the people who are like, let's go. So awesome. So Greg, let's move on to you. The practicality uses, before we move on, Forever Green here on YouTube is watching us, and he has a question for you, Greg, specifically about taking the raw baled material from the field, or does it need to have a level of processing in order to create the hemp wood? So I'll let you address that, and then tell me a little more about the practicality of hemp wood in building and life.
Okay, well, so it needs a limited level of processing in the field before it comes in. So after people take off the top of the plant, we prefer to do what we call the byproduct or the tri-product plant. So what Matt was referring to, where everyone's going after the top of the plant, where you have seed and flower, we come back and then buy the bottom of the plant. And that's what works best, just like wheat straw. And so it has to be field dried, and it has to be sun dried. So it's no longer green. It's been dried in the sun to less than 15% moisture content. So you usually sickle bar it down. You let it lay for 2 or 3 days in the sun, and you come back and turn it over. And then it dries out for another 2 days in the sun, and it's down to less than 15% moisture content. That way it has the right color. It's at the right stage, so it's not decomposing, and it's light brown, so it's not green. Then we bale it up and bring it in here. So we get round bales, we get square bales, we get all that stuff.
Can we, real quick before we move on, can we dry it in a hemp dryer in the event that it's rainy season or something, can you still get that same effect with the hemp dryer?
Well, if you want to hook up natural gas to a $500,000 drying machine, yeah. But if you want to just kind of let nature do what they're going to do and farming do what it is, which is wait in between the storms, then that's the best way to go about it. It's the same as if you're trying to get beans or corn out of the field.
Sure. So what I look at it is here in Alaska, we have a 5-month growing season. Okay, so if for some reason we get an earlier frost or something and we need to harvest early and we're not getting that sun-dried warmth that we need, my question is, so I'm having to build systems within our state so that our industry will succeed. I'm having to build these systems to have backup plans so we don't lose harvests, and we don't end up having situations where maybe we weren't able to harvest that until September and our first frost came, right away, or end of September or 1st of October or something, and we're not able to do that proper drying. I need to be able to create equipment that can dry that. So in the event that, yes, Mother Nature can do her thing, God can do his thing, but I just wanted to know if that was possible. So anyway, keep going.
Okay. Well, yeah, since it's not about the top of the plant, the flower, you can just let it stand. If it stands for a couple of more weeks, it doesn't do anything to it. There's nothing wrong with having a fiber crop that very often the people come by and cut off the top of the plant, and then we get to it when we can get to it. We don't, we just let it stand until you can get back in the field and cut it down. And then you are ducking and dodging in between different rainstorms. We get about 50 to 60 inches of rain here a year. And so I live on an organic farm actually down the street. We grow a little bit of hemp. It wasn't by my doing. It was just when I moved here from China, one of the places we looked at was an organic farm. And so we got an orchard and we got mushrooms and berries and cows. And we feed our chickens and cows hemp seed. There's all types of stuff you can do. So we actually live mainly off of the farm. We shoot a couple of deer every year and eat those, and it just kind of works. And as far as hemp goes, it's a pretty versatile thing. The only thing it doesn't like when you're planting it is it hates wet feet, especially in the early stages. So you can't plant it in your bottoms. It doesn't like it if you get an enormous rainstorm directly after you plant it. We lost one of our fields last year due to that. And so I guess how you can use it, just use it like a hemp wood, use it like a really tough wood. It's 25% harder than hickory. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt to cut. You always need to use carbide blades when you're kind of cutting it or molding it or planing it or things like that because of how strong it is. But we use a soy-based glue inside of there. And so we have none of that formaldehyde-based crap that comes in 80% of your plywood made around the world that off-gases into your house. We went to extreme lengths about that. We also take our waste here in the plant and it gets burned, and that creates our energy in our bioburner for running the mill. So we took a $2,000 a month dumping fee and turned it into $1,500 a month of our energy consumption in the plant by burning our waste. And then we actually sell our sawdust to the hemp plastic companies from our saws and from our sanders. And then we have some of the local farms and people that grow mushrooms with it, people from the SPA that come and pick up whatever's left over. So there's very little that actually comes out of this plant that isn't a hemp wood finished good.
Yeah, that's so good. And it's so good to have companies that are thinking about their waste and their carbon footprint, like being conscious and aware of that, saying, what do we have? What are we making as a result of our waste, and how can we reuse that? I'm looking at doing the Great Alaskan Hemp Processing Plant Project. There's a little plug for that right now, right? We're working with Global Hemp Solutions. They're putting on a presentation March 4th. And then March 11th, Gravitas Infinium is putting on another presentation. So we've got two different processing plants we're looking at. One of them well, anyway, we're not going to go into too many details, but one of them runs on plastic waste. Like that's the actual fuel that runs the plant is plastic waste, petroleum based plastic waste. And that's amazing. Like I'm really excited about that concept. So really using a zero waste mentality or reducing your waste is really awesome. So kudos to you on that for being conscious about that. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. This has been a great conversation about hemp as building materials. There's so many other things that can be used, but these are two of the primary things that I think people need to become aware about, that we replace hemp now, not later. Like I just posted a broadcast yesterday, I got a little heated about this because there was somebody here in Alaska, the battle that we're facing is everybody's still holding on to oil and lumber like it's the way of the future. And I'm a voice in the wilderness going, wait, well, hold on, we've got green tech. Come on, do it. And they say, oh no, maybe in 10 years. I've been saying that it's gonna happen. Like, no, we have it now. I could get an order out there right now to build you a house with as many hemp products as possible. And people are like, whoa, really? Yeah, now. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining us today. And so let me tell you, if you're first joining us for the first time, I want to say please subscribe there on YouTube. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Facebook, wherever you're watching this, please follow. The journey and the mission of Hemp for Healthcare is simple. We grow hemp, we tax it at a very reasonable rate, we put that money into a healthcare fund. Then we process that hemp into the thousands of products that it can be, and we sell that on hempforhealthcare.com. You, as the consumer, come to hempforhealthcare.com and you make a purchase. You buy hemp. And then the profits from your purchase goes into the healthcare fund for your state. So the idea here is that we can have healthcare for all without having to massively increase taxes and create such a socialistic system that everyone's freaking out. But instead, we can create a socialistic benefit with a capitalistic concept that we buy hemp. Why? Because it's going to save our planet, because it's going to save our people, because it's better overall for the world we live in. So we are working towards that effect. But when you buy hemp on hempforhealthcare.com, you're supporting me. You're supporting my efforts to move forward with this. You're supporting the industrial hemp prison program. You're supporting the hemp houses for the homeless. You're supporting entrepreneurs like Matt, and hopefully, across my fingers, someday soon, Greg. You're supporting them as you buy those products on hempforhealthcare.com, and you get out to the world that hemp is a better option. But none of this works unless you make the choice with your dollars to buy a hemp product instead of buying a wood product, to buy a hemp building material instead of buying something else. You have to make a decision because it's better for the planet, because it's better for you, for your children. Another woman on this post said, well, you're never going to see this green technology in your lifetime. So what? That's not going to stop me fighting. I'm not working for me. I'm working for my child, for my son, for his generation. That's who I'm working for. I'm not self-thinking, well, it's all about me, the next generation. And so we fight every day for a green economy. And so a hemp-based economy can be a reality, but it has to start with you. You as the buyer spending your money to think about minimalistic consumption and consuming products that have longer durability, like hemp and hemp textiles, just overall better for the environment. Okay, so please support me in my mission. Patreon, you can search Hemp for Healthcare in America on Patreon. Also, you can donate to the mission. Donation instructions in the description. PayPal, Hemp for Healthcare, nak@gmail.com. So please donate to the mission. Your help helps me continue to do this. And so if you've had value from this, $10, okay? Come on, just something is what I need from you. So thank you. All right, so we have some Q&As. Anne-Marie Lynch here, a question. We'll go ahead and show that out here. What are the investment funds or venture capitalist funds that invest in clean or sustainable housing solutions? That's a great question, and I'm going to go ahead and see what I can do to get some more information on that. I don't have anything right now, but I know that there are out there. And whether those are global funds or whether those are American funds, I know that those funds exist, specifically with the Sustainable Development Goals from the UN and the global goals that are associated there. So I know that those funds exist. So I will definitely look into that. Any other questions? I'm not seeing any that we haven't already addressed. Perfect. Okay, well, then let me get right to it. So thank you again for Matt and Greg. How can the people learn a little bit more about your organization, how to contact you with questions? Matt, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Yeah, so the easiest place would probably be checking out my my website, homelandhempcrete.com. But I'm also pretty active on Instagram. The handle is Homeland Hemp Co. And yeah, honestly, anyone has questions or working on projects and they want some input on it, anything related to hemp or hempcrete and construction, just feel free to reach out to me or even my email, because I feel like there's a lot to be learned still in the industry, and I think I learn a lot just from the different questions I get from people that are just entering the industry, and where I grow and the industry grows as we address these issues that come up. So yeah, I'm an open resource.
Absolutely. And there is so much to learn right now. Like, we're really just still walking in a space of so much innovation and so much awareness of like, how can we get Matt and Greg to work together and build a house? You know, like, how can we get the products that are so vitally important? But everything, like, I love the if you're not a part of it, on Facebook is the International Hempcrete Association or Hempcrete Builders Group. It's just people from all over the world. And the truth is we've mentioned this before, is that America's behind the times. America is behind the times. We've been a leader in years gone by, but right now we're not a leader. We're not the leader in the hemp industry. The rest of the world has seen and has innovated hemp products before us. So we need to humble ourselves and say, okay, guys, what can you teach us so we can save America? Because hemp is the next technology release for our country. And we can't deny that. If we deny that, we're going to be left behind. And I'm sorry, but I know America and all of Americans a little too much. We don't want to be left behind. We are leaders. We were born to be leaders. So we need to just step up and be willing to learn from other countries. But awesome. Definitely great innovation in that. And then Greg, how do we get a hold of you and how do we support HempWood?
Well, that's the easiest question you asked all day. All you have to do is type in HempWood anywhere on the internet, and it points only to us. So we're the only hempwood manufacturer in the world. We're the only building material manufacturer out of hemp fiber in the United States, as far as any sort of a scale where it goes through different levels of distribution and things like that. So if you look at us on hempwood.com, we actually own the domain hempwood.com. If you go to our social media, which is HempWood on Instagram or on Facebook, you can see stuff there. We also have a YouTube channel where you can look us up. Our company's name is actually Fibonacci, because we use the Fibonacci sequence in the manufacturing algorithm of all of the different products I've been doing over the last 20 years. And so the parent company is Fibonacci. You can see us on our YouTube channel. You can see our origin story, and it shows you kind of what we do and why we do it. There's always a positive element to all of our products and all of our processes and everything that we're doing. It is 100% made in America for HempWood. So the biggest problem we have is it does not fit into your standard distribution channels where you have an importer or a distributor who is bringing it in, and then you have a retailer who's reselling it to the end customer. Made in America only works with two-step distribution. You got your manufacturer and you've got your dealer or retailer. So those are the means that we get the product out there. You can buy it straight from us, or you can ask us if you're buying small amounts of material. How do you get it in your area closest? And we can direct you to the 2 or 3 dealers that we have in the different areas that can get it to you more timely, more cost efficient in shipping.
Perfect. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you guys again so much. We'll go ahead and wrap this up today. Please join me next week because we are starting the next level. Okay. We have spent the first part of 2021 discussing what is hemp. How can you use hemp in what did we say? Paper. Hemp is paper. We did hemp is medicine. We did hemp is plastics. We did hemp is energy. And now we're doing hemp is building materials. Okay. So I've educated you about the many ways that we can use hemp in the current society that is known as America and Alaska. Now, how do we grow it? How do we process it? How do we take it from the seed to the end goal? Right? Whatever that is. And just like Matt said earlier, whatever your passion is, there's a spot for you in the hemp industry. Okay? Because that's how big it is. Whatever your mindset is, whatever your innovation is, there's a spot for you in the hemp industry. Right now, we're living in a world where you see all these stores, they're closing the cashier section, right? They're going all digital. They're going all robotic. People are more worried about immigrants taking your jobs when you should be more worried about artificial intelligence taking your job. Okay. So as an Illuminati member, I'm here to tell you, if you don't dedicate your mind to the discovery of knowledge, you will be outpaced by robotic invention. Okay. So right now, the hemp industry has a great potential for people and innovators that want to see something green come to pass. So we got to learn how to grow it. We got to learn how to process it, especially here in Alaska. So I've got great experts coming over the next couple of months for us to discuss those things, how to track it, how to make it from seed through harvest into these amazing products. So please join us for upcoming Explaining Hemps. Next week, we're talking growing next week. So awesome. Well, let me go ahead and bless you. Again, that's, it's February 20th at 9 a.m. Oh my goodness, guys, I wish I could show you this. There is a moose right outside my door, right there. I wish I could show you this. It's so amazing. It's huge. Okay. Anyway, just think moose. That's welcome to Alaska. Okay, let me bless you. Send you off to be world changers in the world. We need more world changers. So be a world changer today. May the Lord bless you and may he keep you. May he lift up his face towards you and give you favor. Lord God, may you protect them out there in the world and may you give them peace. In Jesus' name I pray. So I'll see you next week. God bless you. God bless America. God bless Alaska. We'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.